Welcome to Really Dicey. This is Manny, and I'm here with Matt. And today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, the cartoon series that came out in the 80s. One of my favorite series of all time. I still watch episodes from time to time. It's had such a huge impact on me personally growing up. It was my first exposure to what Dungeons and Dragons was. I think maybe I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was 15, 16, but I think I watched the cartoon back when I was 10 or 11. So it was one of the first major things I've ever seen. Let me share with you my top five favorite episodes for Dungeons and Dragons the cartoon series, and it was hard. I admit there was at least 10 episodes that I had to like think about and like was this more this better than this one, because I tend to like them for different times, different eras of my life. Um, so I guess right now this will be my top five for this decade. Um, Number five, The Dungeon at the Heart of Dawn.
Oh yeah,
Um, that's a pretty, um, I guess that's the one episode I would say is the most horrifying than all the episodes, because the Dungeon Master loses his powers. They're hunted down by a Satan-like figure. Um, they don't say his name, but they kind of hint at it. And Venger loses his powers. They have to work together with him, and they have to get to this device so they can get Dungeon Master back his powers. It's very intense episode, because unlike the other ones, if something went wrong, maybe the Dungeon Master may step in and help out. They had no parachute this time, so
yeah.
they
That
had to be
was
really careful.
pretty wild. That dark force they unleashed was just unstoppable. It was this huge storm of evil that was, raising the planet. That was tough. All I
Yeah.
can say though is that if that was in the box, Dungeon Master really should have been a little more clear about don't open the box.
Indeed, indeed. That was
Give
his.
me a little warning label.
Number four, ironically enough, called The Box.
Oh, I love
Um,
that. Yeah.
yeah, that was a great episode. I love that there's this magic item, this chest that you put it in some place around and it takes you to some place different. And by accident, they were trying to use this box to try to get back home. And by accident, they got the wrong spot. Well, not accident, they were tricked by
Yeah.
illusion, by Avenger.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they opened the box, this weird, crazy dimension. It was like almost Dolly like. And then there was this huge bee monster, and they ran out of there. That was awesome. And then you find out that if you put it in a certain place, it could get home. And Venture went to their home world and threatened to destroy it, so they had to go back to stop him, and they lost their
Yeah. That was,
chance.
that was pretty
But
cool, actually. I
yeah,
um I made a list of things to just steal from the show, like great
mm,
ideas, and that box was in it. Just to be clear, it's a box that contains. Sometimes it just contains whatever you put in it, and sometimes it contains stairs to go down to different worlds. But the contents of the box, is determined by its physical location. So if the box is on one side of the room and you put a puppy dog in it and you pick the box up and move it to the other side of the room, the puppy dog is gone until you pick the box up and move it back to where it was when you put the dog in, which is just a mind-blowing idea. Yeah.
yeah. Look, great episode. Um, Number three, City at the Edge of Midnight.
Mm.
Um, this is the one episode that I've actually made a story out of for my players.
Mm.
And it went well. I would have changed though, not using from Earth, because I sort of confused them a little bit too. I would have made it from a different area in I think it was Forgotten Realms what I was playing in at the time. But it's a great episode. The idea of children being stolen to work in this clock tower, so it could stop the clock from striking midnight, and it's run by these lizard monsters and this the what's it called, the Nightwalker, this demon. And I just thought it was a great episode. It introduced some interesting new supporting characters as well. I thought it's just a fun episode. It's definitely an episode I like, because I envisioned that as a campaign already once I finished watching it. Like the idea of a dungeon, but instead of a dungeon, it's a clock tower, and you have to stop it from striking midnight. I think that'd be a fun scenario.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I must admit, I missed that one. I
Mm,
will go back. I'm going to go back and watch that tonight. That sounds fantastic.
mm.
City on the
Um,
Edge of Midnight, did you say?
yes, City on the Edge of Midnight. Number two, Valley of the Unicorn.
Oh yeah,
Um, that one's a good fun one. And also I think I find it the most emotional for some reason, like the fact that Bobby uh, was stuck in place and wasn't able to save his dragon in time from his horn from being stolen, and it was his anger that broke through that ice thing. I don't know. I was like, I thought that was cool. I don't know, something about that. Maybe it's a little simplistic, but at the same time, I like it. But it's a great unicorn lore
yeah.
also.
I know. I agree. That was a very emotional episode for me. It was when the wizard stole the horns.
Yeah, Calic, I believe
Yes,
his name
Kelly.
is.
Yeah, I liked him. The poor unicorns were just, they went from being these majestic beasts to just these rail thin gray, beat down animals. Yeah, it was tragic. It's a good
Yeah,
good episode.
Calic. Just to sidetrack a little bit, Calic was also an action figure. Calic, Strongheart, Warduke, um, and Warduke was my favorite like toy growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And I'm not sure why. Like I'm looking at it. I don't know if you looked at it recently, and part of me is thinking like, ooh, like okay, this person's like half blue armor, blue dragon armor, and half not, like almost like barbarian, and but has a cool helmet with bat wings and red eyes. It's almost like it's like he's two classes in one. It's like it's almost like doesn't make sense, but there's something about him that is just really cool. It's just something about the design that just worked.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but my number one episode that I love the most, that has made a huge impact in how I looked at animation forward after seeing that episode, is the Dragon's Graveyard.
Mm,
Because if you're stuck watching cartoons from the 80s, all of them are very cyclical, and in a way they don't um, uh, 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 move on story wise. For example, the Smurfs, Gargamel, Gargamel will always be after the Smurfs, try to
sure.
get it, and it's gonna keep going over and over again. Same thing with Gummy Bears. Same thing for like most 80s cartoons, Spider-Man and Friends. It's always the same template. Nothing moves on. No, the story doesn't change. But
Right.
this episode is different because the characters are almost self-aware. We're like, okay, every time we try to get back home, Venger stops us. Why don't we just take out Venger once and for all? And that to me, when I saw that, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Why don't you do that? And the fact that they just planned, they got Tiamat to work with them. They Dungeon Master wasn't happy about it. It's probably the first time Dungeon Master did not agree with their plans and try to talk them out of it. And he sort of went along with them, but he was sort of disappointed in them. And they did it. They beat Venger. They got him into Grit Dragon's graveyard. Their weapons were stronger than ever before. They had a chance to kill him, and they don't. And it was such a and it's a hard episode in a sense, because it's like this is it. They could just finally go home, and all they do is kill him, and they don't do so. And they realize that by doing so they would lose a part of themselves, and it's like almost like showing how desperate they are to want to go home.
Hmm, hmm.
And the episode ends with the dungeon master coming in and says, hey, I forgot the great line he said, but something like you've made your first big step in going home. So to me, it's a great episode because again, it's not many episodes of cartoon episodes in the 80s that ever like really made you really think that way about a series. And think like, hey, maybe we should think beyond the template that they set up and think about like, okay, how do you actually solve this problem?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so that's why to me that's my favorite. That's the episode I will watch like every like once a year at least.
Hmm.
Whenever I'm feeling down a little bit and I want to watch a great episode of something, I'll watch that.
Cool, cool. Yeah, that episode also upset the parent groups.
Yeah, because it was the first time where main characters were like, "Hey, let's kill the bad guy. What's the wrong? What are we doing?"
Maybe
Even
murder is the answer. Maybe that's what we should do. Although, at the end they decided not to murder them,
yeah,
so I think
yeah. So
that's
that
a win. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, even like Transformers, same thing. Like they knew, like instead of like they always waited till the Decepticons did something before they got out of their base to do something. Why not? Has anyone ever like anyone considered like maybe we should find out where they are and destroy them? Why wait for them to do something before we
Yeah,
react?
yeah,
You
exactly.
know? So that episode really like as a storyteller really opened my eyes as a kid. Anyone watching this? Let us know what you think is your favorite episodes, favorite moments from the show. Be safe out there and have a good day.
All right, take care.